So, okay, this is great, but how do I do it? What does it look like when you're actually practicing racial resilience? And so we each want to share an example. And so for me, around self-compassion, I experienced a lot of shame and guilt in the process of learning about race and racism. I wasn't made to feel this way, but it was part of the feelings that arose within me as I learned about race and racism. And that's because when I learn about the history of racism in the US, I feel guilt because I benefit from that history. I feel shame because I benefit from that history. I understand that within the racial hierarchy of the United States as it exists today, that there's an unbroken chain from slavery to now, and the racist social structures that exist place me on the top because I'm a white male. And I feel shame and guilt. Those are the appropriate emotions to feel when you're looking at the inconceivable human degradations of slavery and the reality of what slavery was really actually like. It's difficult to read about, it's difficult to comprehend. And because I'm white looking back on that, and I know that I benefit from it, shame and guilt make sense. And so I had a lot of the shame and guilt come up, and I didn't really know how to deal with it. And in the beginning, I didn't know why it was there. And as a self-protection mechanism, I sought to get rid of the shame and guilt. But you're making me feel this way, those sorts of things. It's a pretty common response. But as I learned more about the compassion practice and how to bring that into the context of race and racism, I said, okay, I have, this shame and guilt's coming up. It's preventing me from continuing to learn about this. And so I, get grounded, get some space from those feelings so that I can come back to my sense of who I am. And then began to take what we call the U-turn, to look within myself and to understand that this shame is actually a source of wisdom. It's trying to help me flourish, but it doesn't necessarily know how to help me flourish. And so when I spend the time understanding what's underneath that shame, what's at the core of it, I understand that it's telling me no more. I can't continue on with business as usual. If I continue to live enmeshed within the ideology of whiteness and racism, I can't be the person that I want to be. I'm certainly not being the person that I think I'm being. And so not being racist isn't good enough. I have to become anti-racist. I have to continue to practice compassion around my racialized parts. So to be a friend to Christopher, to be an uncle to Isaiah, I have to do all that I can to become anti-racist. And so in this way, shame begins to embody a new life within me as a motivation to continue practicing anti-racism. Cultivating compassion for this part of myself transforms a pretty big roadblock into a catalyst that sustains my journey toward anti-racism. So compassion for ourselves is essential for practicing anti-racism. It helps us get to the core of what some of the most difficult feelings we have around race and racism are trying to do for us. And so that's one way that self-compassion helps.